Yeah, I accidentally closed I accidentally closed my streaming software by accident. Where was I? Yeah, my name is Ramirez. This is FrogBear. Today we are going to be doing the news, or at least this episode will be about the news. And essentially at the beginning of it, I was just trying to say that I was watching a YouTuber and they were explaining what they thought social media was, and they described Instagram and like social media as a representation of the simulation, right? A part of the matrix, because it's showing you a simulated reality, and it's not necessarily showing you something that's a part of your reality. You're participating in someone else's reality, but you're viewing it through this thing. So it's like a part of the matrix. Either way. So I'm gonna start calling these episodes something related to the matrix, because in a weird way, like it is kind of abnormal to be able to view this much news, this much information in such a streamlined way that I don't know. The concept is still in my head, where I'm still trying to like explain it even to myself. But I wanted to start off with a little funny.
Oh, what you about to record today, man? Yo, bro, I'm about to spit that pain, bro. Like, I'm really about to spit that pain, bro. Like, no cap. Like, I'm really about to spit that pain, bro. Like, I'm really gonna spit that pain. Like, you feel me? Like, I'm going... Yo, he's the 5th rapper today to come into the studio with a Pooh Shiesty mask in 90-degree weather, talking about he's about to spit that pain. Yeah, I know he's gonna rap over a drill beat. But anyways, let's just get this over with. You ready, man? Yeah, play the beat.
Love is a drug, I'm addicted to it, but I gotta withdraw right before I lose it. My mind running. I need loving. Love is a game, and you left me clueless. Got no time for charades, had to keep it moving. Forgot to take the knife up out of my back. I didn't know that you would do me like that. No.
Yo, bro, what you about to record today?
Yeah, why I show this video is because I was having a conversation with my buddy Danny's little brother. I should probably close that door because that is intense light. I am getting warm. I have returned. Well, it wasn't a conversation I was having with his brother. It was a conversation that I had with Danny. But I was having this conversation about him. Like, I was telling my friend that I think this dude... So talking about how we can view so much of the world in so little time on our phone. This guy has literally figured out, to some degree, right? It's a new thing, because you can expose yourself to so many different techniques, so many different genres of music, and because it's so readily available and people are now more than ever accessible to the internet, that people like him can incorporate all sorts of styles, right? This is just one video, but he's already made videos of him rapping under different circumstances, pretending to be different characters, and so as the simulation is bad, right? You can view it that way. I tend not to, because so many interesting things come about from being able to have that internet connectivity. But oh yeah, I should have rolled back up to when I wanted to, which was Sunday. Yeah, we could start here. So, daughter of Ukraine war mastermind is blown to pieces in Moscow car bomb. Daria Dugin assassinated in an attack meant for her father Alexander. So there is this right, I thought it was funny how it says 112, but I think that's the emergency number for whatever country that is. What did I want to say about this? I forgot. I think it was just more about intelligence, like how important it is to have intelligence networks, how important it is to understand individuals of importance, and how to a large degree, agencies will keep track of these individuals and, like in this case, plant bombs, plant scenarios, set up scenarios or circumstances in order to, you know what I mean, facilitate this person's undoing But in this case, family members get caught up in all this, and it, probably shouldn't mention that story. But let's move on. Here we have a school person gets 40 years for killing one of their classmates and injuring 3. And this is what I bring up about the underbelly of the internet. How the internet not only is so vast and so wide. Like, yeah, we have surveillance system, yeah, but like the NSA are just glorified jockey dogs. Like, if nothing hits their desk, if they're not told to look for anything, like, it's just a glorified spy system that has no real ability to do anything with the information, right? Like, there is, to some degree, the NSA is forced in a situation where they can't act on information. And in the case of the FBI, the people who actually have the authority to do anything, they usually tend to let individuals like that kid go because it serves a purpose for whatever political statement wants to be done or said. And I say this fully knowing that there is an ideology that's brewing underneath the veil of society. You know, we tend to believe that everything's nice, peachy, and like bubblegums, but in reality, like the FBI's, you know what I mean? Like, what would make me believe that the FBI isn't grooming a group in order to execute or do certain things? What makes me, like, I want to believe that that sort of thing can happen, but looking at the history of certain political regimes inside of America and the things they've already done, I wouldn't put it past them. Like, should I remind people that all of the people that were involved in that Nevada shooting all just so happen to be all together at the same place celebrating their survival while they get attacked here in Sherman Oaks in California, and assume that it's just a crazy conspiracy theory when okay, that's going way too far, because Alex Jones is in court right now, and you know, saying any of this stuff is not okay. Watch IRS recruitment. Oh yeah, IRS. So the IRS getting more hires, getting more people to do all their bidding, all their dirty work, and allowing them police licenses in order for what? For them to police the middle class, the people that they. Either way, right? Like, they'll pass a bill, they'll give them all the money they need in order to hire these people, train these people, but when it comes down to doing anything good or anything meaningful, yeah, that money can't be used for that. Oh no, casting pearls amongst the swine. Biden misled public on Afghanistan. New GOP report finds. I just honestly put that article because this picture is very iconic. And I think will be very iconic in the future. The more people become privy to what's actually going on. So in Japan, central bank has abandoned its idea for digital currency. Now, this was bound to happen. Right? People could say whatever they want, but this was bound to happen. And you have to, and the reason why I say this is because if you understand Japanese culture, cash is king. Like, they don't actually, like, and it's not just something that's exclusive to Japan, right? Electronic payment systems are a thing of the West. There are a lot of areas, not just in Japan, I'd imagine Korea, I'd imagine all sorts of areas that probably still have aspects of third world isms inside of their own nation that don't have electronic payment systems. Hell, the cell phone is not even a widely distributed thing. Or, I guess not everybody, what I'm trying to say is not everybody has a flagship phone. Not everybody has that sort of accessibility to a decent phone. And having the rails, by the rails I mean the onboarding system of allowing people to have a digital representation of a dollar is very difficult, especially in Japan when people are still living in a time where I still think you can pay everything in coins, right? How would they upgrade all of their vending machines? Like, there are logistic questions that would make no sense for a Japanese culture to adopt. But I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying that usually, typically, a lot of this infrastructure, or a lot of this technology gets implemented in like city districts first. It gets implemented in areas that are more advanced than the outskirts or places that wouldn't, right? Mom and pop shop. Like, you know, I could still go to Mexico and go to a mom and pop shop, and I'm gonna be like, you accept debit? No, fool, what the hell? Like, that's a mom and poppy shop. Either way. Andrew Tate was born exactly 13. All right, yeah. So here's all the magic woo-woo numbers after the founding of the first great lodge of America, days before he banned from social media. In case you had any doubts why he calls himself Top G. Okay. Big Brother 2016, Andrew Tate is removed from the house. That is one thing. How, like, he's had a celebrity presence. And by celebrity presence, I mean he just had his face on the television. Because there's videos of him when he's, like, 18. And he's, like, training to fight. Like, to me, that's kind of crazy. Just because it's like, how did you get access to this TV show? Who funded it? Why do you have cameras? Why are they following you? What is this? But then again, I'm pretty sure all these answers, I would get all the answers, and I'm pretty sure there's a nice explanation for why all of it happened, but I don't know, I just think it's very interesting. And stuff with numerology, you know, people can always make the argument that, how do I say this? You can just find it. If you're looking for this sort of numerology, you're always going to find it, right? It's why some people don't believe in the synchronicities of when you're looking at the time, when you're looking at these numbers, because people, I don't know, I've heard a variety of different explanations, and that's why it always comes up into question, because it's like, well, I could explain it because XYZ. It's not because anything special in life exists. It's like some dumb shit. All right, yeah. Here's a great example of this stuff. This is called the Secret Church of the Holy Grail. Now, usually the person that posts this is, where did I get the Conspiracy Whore or Midnight Rider? I don't know. I know I'm in the group of like the actual place that this gets posted on. But what I want to highlight.
He talks about radiation coming from it. I don't know if he means real.
Okay, I want to preface this a little bit. I believe these people are evangelists. I believe that they are viewing history through a very, very specific lens. They're viewing all of these ideas and theories from a very specific angle in order to fit the evangelical narrative. There's a lot of truth in what he's saying, but at the same time, it's angled to fit another truth. Instead of looking at the truth plainly, some people tend to look at the truth in a way that fits whatever grander scheme idea they got. Some people could say that about my ideas, but it's usually why I'm always open-ended and why I entertain all angles of an idea, of a concept, because they're nice 3D shapes.
Radiation or just occult power radiating from it, I'm not really sure. But he goes on to say, he says the quantity of the radiation will be greater because and itself. And when he talks about science and the...
Oh yeah, and he actually quotes books. So like, this is one of the reasons why I will watch this, is because he'll actually show a bunch of books and I'll be like, all right, at least you do that for me, where I could actually look at the material myself.
Sacraments, there is Luciferian ritual that is combined with science to produce this effect. Now, for those of often about...
L. Ron Hubbard is a great example of this, but this is not what I'm talking about.
Nonetheless, it was the essential cult of the evil principle. And done page 140. Montfort, according to they caught up with them in a place called Languedoc in France, and they slaughtered many of them.
Yeah, Languedoc, France. It's a place I for sure want to visit. It's one of the it's to be rumored that was one of the last places that the Cathars, it's a very specific group of Christians that I deeply resonate with, that they were held up in this place, but he says more.
When they overrun.
And by the way, keep in mind that the Catholic Church considers them heretics.
In a castle of the Cathars. Now, Mr. Gardner says this about the Cathars. He says, in religious terms, the doctrine of the Cathars was essentially Gnostic. And they're Gnostic. And that's where we find the groups that contain this secret of the bloodline and of this Luciferian mass. They're in Gnostic circles. They're in these Luciferian Freemasonic circles.
All right, and he's like, he makes the jump. All Gnosticism is Luciferian and Satanist. And it's just like, if you look at the term Lucifer, you'd find out that was a person that was slandered by the church. If you look up Satanism, There's an agenda. There is actions that these people make, and there is an ideology behind it. And when you compare it to what Gnosticism really is, Gnostic or Gnosticism is just a blanket term. It means a lot of spirituality gets put under Gnosticism. The word Gnostic just means knowing. Agnostic means not knowing. So it's this hodgepodge way of, I'm gonna make it fit my understanding because Jesus, or at least his view of Jesus. This is why I do not like evangelicals. I do not like fanatics. I do not like cultists. Like, these people will just ignore the observable fact and will just make the piece fit whatever narrative or whatever view of the world they want to have. These people are abhorrent. Abhorrent. When have I ever used that word?
This is exactly the people that possess this power and this ritual. And here, this is really amazing. We pointed out the reference to the elves earlier, but it says the Cathars referred to the Messianic Sangreal as the Albi Gens, the elven bloodline. And the crusade launched by Catholicism was called the Albigensian. And to the Cathars, this literally meant the elven bloodline, or the bloodline of the elves. And they believed that.
I've heard a lot of that. I'm not gonna contest. This is why one of those things of, he does mention a lot of truth. He'll mention and reference a lot of shit that he finds in books and literature and history, but whatever conclusion he'll come up with, it's just like, okay, I feel you. I understand how you came to this conclusion, but it's always in that lens. It's always in that angle. It's always oculated that way. It's like, my boy, you practicing dark magic yourself.
In the flesh and into blood. Now, this is a book entitled The History of Witchcraft and Demonism by Montague Summers. And he talks in this book on page 147 about the Mass of the Knights Templar. On page 147, and they were also a group that began within Catholicism, and they became enamored in the occult and done some very bad things. We've talked about the Templars.
The Templars are now very bad people. The Templars never did anything good now. It's just like, okay, dude. Oh, and dude, it's not just this episode. I really, realistically, I picked this episode because I watched all of it, and I was just like, wow. Just wow. To watch the smudging of history being done live, to me, was just like, wow, this is a really great show. Especially, I could make a whole episode dissecting every single episode this dude makes, but I'm not here to troll. I'm not here to be mean. I could be very mean, but nah. That old dude needs to be left alone. Leave the old people alone. Rise in heart diseases may be explained by extreme weather conditions. Oh my. It seems I must stay inside a bit more, or I could have a heart attack. Oh no. Here we have Justin Mediator. This is a meteor spotted streaking across Saudi Arabia. Very nice. I just find the noise weird. There's like that weird, like, noise. Either way, HBO removes 200 episodes of Sesame Street. I brought this up in an earlier. I can't remember under what subject, but it was talking about how overall, oh yeah, I should turn this off. Overall, our history, overall what we viewed in life is being erased very before our eyes. And people would just assume that, oh, this is just a television show, but it's like, nah, the internet is being overall censored. A great video that, I was talking about it too a while ago, but I found somebody explaining it.
If you don't think that there is an active attempt to, where's the other 6 being seen by the masses, well then if you don't think that there is an active attempt to control what information is being seen by the masses, well then you're about to see something that is so unbelievably disturbing that you'll never forget it. In fact, this is something that you can experiment with on your own in about 30 seconds, and you'll see firsthand that there is something quite disturbing going on. Now,
So I explained this. I don't remember when, but it's basically type anything in Google and go as far back as you can, and you'll realize that towards page 20, the initial result number that you got was not what should be there.
Now, let me just jump into this so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So here I am on Google, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in a controversial topic, which is, let's go with climate change, as this is something that is highly debated. And as you can see here at the top, we have about 6.68 billion results in a little more than half a second.
My boy, billion.
So scroll to the bottom, and what we're going to do is we're just going to scroll all the way over to page 10, and notice that it still has 6.68 billion results. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep jumping forward as far as they'll let us go, and when you see what happens next, you're going to be quite surprised. So, okay, it goes to page 20, and then all of a sudden you have just 194 results.
So this was something that I think when I first watched it, it was done by Mouthy Buddha. And I guess he ran into it because the only real people who ran into this issue, besides myself, were people that were really researching. And I specifically like to do time-gated searches, right? And fully knowing that this was a problem. So I decided, well, if they're only going to give me a selected amount of resources back as a search inquiry, basically there is a pseudo programming language that you can use in a Google search bar that will give you definitive terms, right? If you put those little, like that one dash, not the two dashes, which means a quotation, but the one dash, if you put like a word in between two dashes, it'll make a definitive search, as in it has to include this word inside of this. I can't give too much of the sauce away because I don't want to let YouTube know that I know how to work this. And you can get time-gated results, and you have to do very specific time-gated searches, because if you don't, good luck finding any of this stuff. And I do it specifically for the fact that there's a certain belief that the Internet archives are manipulated, in the sense that the file might still say that it's the original file that was uploaded on this date, but some people assume that some people have gotten into the data logs and completely changed it, and changed the file, changed the date, and they'll leave false documents on the internet for people to view. This is said to be done with very specific literature. I can attest to one way or the other, but it's a prevailing theory that I always have to keep track of, especially when I'm looking at some of the topics that I am, because people can misconstrue what you're looking at or what you're doing. Oh, I've already explained this video, right? Glenn Beck exposes Smithsonian Institute ancient American cover-up, and that's talking about a piece of a slab that was found in North America that had ancient Hebrew on it. So the question lies, how did ancient Hebrew end up on America when that's supposed to be across the ocean, in a different continent, in a different region, at a different point in time? So how does Hebrew, a language that's very specific to a very specific group of people, end up in America? And the question ends up getting worse when you know about the falsification of American history, the falsification of history in general, the destruction of certain buildings here in American soil, just the falsification of a lot of architecture, the mud flood theories, old civilization theories that would suggest that America isn't what it seems to be, but there's a whole lot of that. Actually, there was something else that I wanted to show, was this, but I need to turn on this, click on this.
I use Windows. I use gaming computers. Fruity Loops. When I started with Fruity Loops, it wasn't on Macs. Okay. Like that, we call that Mac shit, like the death of Fruity Loops does. Like, cause it ain't the same sound. It don't sound the same. Like the drums thinner. Like, it's just different. Like, I still use Fruity Loops 11 and 10. Like, it looked totally different and all that. But they don't have that for a Mac. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So it's a different sound than what everybody else doing. That's why our shit hit harder than everybody else.
Talk heavy.
You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Well, just newsflash, it probably won't be hitting harder after they see this video.
They're like, oh,
download, get rid of these
these Macs. Now,
Now he's talking about software, and there is something that I remember. Shout out to Phil from Chicago, my cousin. This man kept 2 computers. He kept one computer and never connected it to the internet. He left that computer always never connected to the internet. He would refuse to connect that computer to the internet. And his laptop, he would connect that to the internet. And if he ever needed something on that other computer that he can only get through the internet, like he had a very specific process of moving from one computer to another computer to make sure that nothing ever happened to the other computer. And it always, I'm a tech geek. I know computers, I know technology, but even to me, that was a bit special. But viewing him and him calling Max that devil fruit shit was very interesting to me, and how he has a dedicated software. Now, this is a problem that's well known in IT, but some people refuse to move or upgrade to a newer software. But realistically, some software needs to be updated. Something that needs to. Fruity Loops, certain music engineering software, certain music engineering plugins, to me, that it makes sense to get updates, but not in the degree that a lot of these software companies like to do updates. Because I think, what is it, Fruity Loops, I think we're already in Fruity Loops 20. Like, he said he's using Fruity Loops 10. I don't even know how old that is. So very interesting that he called it the devil fruit shit, and how it doesn't sound the same, because to some degree it's because the processing units are different. And what I found even better was the fact that he's like, oh no, we use gaming computers. And if you know anything about gaming computers in general just mean that they have a better processor, a better brain, a better CPU, and they have a graphics card unit, which means certain processes are done on a graphics card that are very, I don't even know how to explain a graphics card process. Either way, moving on. We got more news to go through. Qatar detains workers protesting late pay before World Cup. All those woke, knee-bending rainbow armband wearing wankers in the England team will say nothing about modern day slavery, nothing about all the foreign cheap labor that has died there. Straight up, Qatar still has slave contracts. Like, when they were initially building all the stadiums, that was a big problem. Like, they had people dying, and it was put to light that there are still families out there in Qatar that are living out slave contracts from their forefathers, and that's kind of weird. But you know, we're a civilized country. We don't do that. Meanwhile, they just force all our kids to go into debt for college. But you know, nothing to say there. Nothing about gay rights. Just silent, because they are woke, corporatist controlled hypocrites. That's what's up. That's what's up.
Executive Order 14067. Executive Order 14067. Hey family, it's late and it's early, and this is my goodnight message. Please know, I need you to know this, that in March of 2022, President Biden signed into law an executive order that is going to be effective on December the 13th, 2022. What is this executive order all about? It is about digital currency. The digital currency that I told you were coming. Many people say, yeah, right, the dollar is strong. It's not going anywhere. The dollar is down. The dollar is done. And it's not just down.
And you know, this is talking about the digital revolution, the digital downfall. Or it's not a digital downfall. It's a very bad way of explaining this. But essentially, the way our money works, the way the system is set up, was all designed and orchestrated back during the late 60s, the early 70s, and at the end of all that was the Bretton Woods Agreement. And during the Bretton Woods Agreement, what essentially happened was there was a guarantee by American imperialism that they would allow trade, and they would facilitate trade and the security of such all over the world and facilitate it, thus allowing a soft form of control over economic fields of the world. Now, I'm not disputing anything about the executive order. That's real. The digitization, digitization of the economy, I think falls under the purview of, I don't know. I leave that up in the air because some people say it's the Rothschilds. Other people say it's the Pentagon. Other people say there are so many theories of who's going to control the digital dollar, what's going to happen to our future. And I'm just like, educate yourself. Learn the programming language. Because when we have a better understanding of the things that are being put before us, I think it allows us a better position to tell the people who we can vote into power, to tell them like, hey, we need you to do something about these aspects of what we're dealing with. And some people would say, but everything is controlled, this and that. And I'm like, no. That was back then. Now, clearly, there is a lot of unrest and chaos amongst even the oligarchs and amongst those in control. So if there was ever a time to do anything, it's right now. But in order for us to know what to do, we have to be very educated on these issues. Now, I'm just going to stop it because it was a 2-minute video. And explaining that digital dollar stuff is very difficult to anybody. Pentagon is researching gene editing, Internet of Bodies, and AI-enhanced human performance. Now, I don't know what that entails, but that sounds pretty crazy. And the way I see it is, there's already been an obsession amongst the top echelon of America about genes, about getting to decide who marries who, marrying men of distinguishment between certain women to see what would happen with their offspring. Like, that's already been done. Like, America has a long history of already doing that amongst its little chosen divisions amongst the America, but that's a different story. Oh shit, our boy, there go that boy John McAfee. Oh shit. No, I'm joking. John McAfee faked his death and is still alive in Texas. His Belizean ex-girlfriend Samantha Herrera claims. What's funny about her is she's, I think, in the Vice documentary that is that I think is about McAfee. I can't remember, or was it the Cartoon Network one? I think it is the Cartoon Network documentary that the Adult Swim basically looked out for this fool, and he was claiming human trafficking, drug trafficking, and all sorts of other things. And he was specifically stating that he had evidence that proved Latin America's involvement in a governmental level on facilitating a lot of this happening. But did I know he was alive? Of course he was alive. What'd you expect for him to be gone? Dude, the fact that the Spanish... Alright, so I think it's the Spanish hospital that was supposed to handle his body. They claimed that a full year later, they still had his body in the corners, in the thing. And it's like, really? You're going to tell me that his wife would have not petitioned for it? That she would have not done anything for her to get the body, to make sure it had a proper burial? Really? That woman loved him. Like, you're going to tell me, you're going to make me believe all this, suspend my disbelief on X, Y, Z, whatever. Did I know he was alive? He's already faked his death 2 other times. What makes me think he can't do it again? I watched Vice search for QAnon because I'm into self-torture. Ultra Pepe Lives Matter. Am I going to torture anybody here with the QAnon? With QAnon? Not the whole thing. We'll just show what.
When he leaves DIA, he forms the Flynn Intelligence Group, which is, a private intelligence firm that he's running with Bijan Guion and a couple other guys. His son, Mike Flynn Jr., has been in the mix since the beginning,
Yeah, that dude, Pizzagate all day.
All day. In
all day.
2016, Flynn lists himself as joining the board of this company called OSY Technologies. So, looking up the company's name, and the only thing that I can find registered in the United States is a trademark that was filed 2 weeks after Flynn joins the board. And check this out, Q Intelligence. And this is their logo.
Dude.
Straight up a Q.
So Flynn also owns a firm called the Digital Soldiers Media.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
At that rally in Beverly Hills, there was a tent called Digital Army where people were being asked to take the oath.
What's this? This is it's basically a news network, like a censor-free news network.
The thing.
And why would they make a news network? Why would they do something like so mundane? Why would they only spread information? And it's because educating the populace is the one thing that actually topples this entire thing. Having a populace that understands the exact things that are going on, the exact tactics that are going on. Like I remember saying this to somebody, but like, you would never know that you're being coerced until it's too late. You would never know you're being manhandled a certain way until it's too late, until you've already been way too in the clutches of whatever the agenda was, that you discover that, oh, I'm being digested, right? Like, it's already too late for you to like walk away. So it's important to educate people. That's the way I've seen this whole thing work, because how do you explain to somebody that their entire fabric of reality is a lie? Not very easy to do. Not very easy to explain that even their religion is a lie. Their history of their religion is a lie. I got a great video for that one, actually, but let's keep going.
The thing that everybody points to when it comes to Flynn's involvement is the oath.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend.
I didn't even know this was a thing.
But then at the end of it, he signed off with a where we go one, we go all.
Where we go one, we go all.
And so immediately a dog whistle to the
There's to wonder if
Immediately a dog whistle to the Q community. Bro, I bet you don't even know the URL to get to the Q boards. Like, for real. Bruh, you don't even hang out on 4chan, dog. Like, you don't even shitpost, my dude. Shut your face. I should shut up. I'm so sorry. World War II Ghost Army was a secret for 51 years. What was it? The Ghost Army? I think that's the tanks, right? Like, they would have these inflatable tanks, and they kind of fooled the Nazis with them, and essentially allowed these certain places to get bombed with fake equipment, so it would actually save their real equipment. And I don't know how to explain this, because I have no evidence. There's nothing that I could pull from. But to me, I get a gut feeling that the tactic of using a ghost army is very real. It's a very well used tactic in hacker circles, where you set up a fake zombie computer to act as your real computer. So you use it as a by proxy, where they think that they're getting the you, but in reality they just got to one layer of it. When you're using a completely different system, you've just decided to use that other system as a by proxy. And at least, I don't know if it's still a tactic today, but that was kind of a big popular tactic, was always having zombie computers. Having computers that are the redirects. So when niggas are trying to trace you, they're not actually tracing you. You know what I mean? Like, there are ways of obfuscating the signal that's sent. I don't know how to explain these things without getting right. I don't know anything, right? I know absolutely nothing. It's better for me to always say that than say anything else at all. Because big problem. Oh yeah, here we have huge block of Lebanon grain silo collapses. And this is something that I always like to bring up and point out, is the fact that there's a very finite group of people. There's a very finite amount of resource that allows for people to understand the logistics behind food, the logistics behind shipping, and the logistics of understanding that whole supply chain of being able to get a raw resource, get it refined, get it produced, and then shipping it off, and then the actual value of all that, and da 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 da. I think this just goes back to the Kissinger playbook of essentially causing a mass starvation on a huge scale. Alert! Drought uncovers. Alert! Drought undercovers. I said undercovers again. Drought uncovers dinosaur tracks in U.S. park. I don't think dinosaurs are real. Very, very sorry for that. I know a lot of people are probably like, school though, museums though. And I'm like, dude, look at the history of it. Just look at the people that were pushing this as a science at the beginning. There's a lot of questionable facts, and again, I do not trust the Smithsonian. I do not trust the manipulators of history. Like, were there some giant scaly lizards? Maybe. Are they showing us the entire truth? I don't think so. I don't really think so. I don't really think so. But that's just me. Elon Musk has subpoenaed former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey in his legal fight with Twitter. Now, this is something that I thought was not going to happen. How did we go from like complaining about Elon, complaining about Twitter, complaining about bots, and then him backing off the deal to then Twitter suing him for not taking the deal? What kind of WWE bullshit am I watching? Like, for real, like this is... Did Vince McMahon die? Is he now like the ghostwriter that's just kind of writing for all this? I got questions. I need answers. For real. Lamau, this is Twitter CEO response. I don't even know. Preserve your documents. Here we got Dr. Fauci announces his resignation. And I think this is not like far enough. Sorry, I heard something outside and I was like, "Oh, hey there, partner. You can't come in here. I'm streaming." But with Fauci's resignation, people do not realize that all the fuck shit, all of the terrible things that have happened in terms of lawsuits, cases, malfeasance in medical practice, malfeasance in pharmaceutical practices, default products, anything that's happened from the 80s to today was under his leadership. Everything. All of the major lawsuits, all of the big hubbaloos of Pfizer and Johnson and all these companies bribing people was all under him. All under him. He was in office since Reagan. So that means under every single presidency, every single lawsuit, every single questionable thing that the pharmaceutical companies, the medical industry, the health industry has ever done was under his purview. You got me fucked. You got me fucked up. Either way. Yeah. Oracle is sued. All right. Oracle is, I don't know what they do. I know that they own some open source software that's like a clone of Office, like a Microsoft Office, you know, those programs that you use for stuff. They own the patent, or it's not a patent. It's not like they own anything because it's open source. That means anybody can grab the code. It's called LibreOffice, and they also do like open server systems and all this other stuff. So I'm not too sure. Irish Council for Civil Liberties has launched a class action lawsuit against Oracle's worldwide surveillance machine. Tech companies have admitted to having detailed dossiers. I know that word doesn't look like dossier, but I think that's dossier. On 5 billion people, data which generates $42 billion in annual revenue, according to the complaint that was filed in the U.S. District Court of Northern District of California. Highlights for the complaint include 1. Allegations that Oracle has the names, physical addresses, email addresses, online, real-world purchases, detailed online activity, and interests such as political affiliation for over 5 billion people. I clearly didn't read this. 2. The complaint also alleges that Oracle is in violation of California Invasion of the Privacy Act. My boy, that's all of the United States, okay? The FBI can just pay a third-party company to get all your information. I.e., case in point, this complaint. Fuck, that's not a way to do that. But, yeah, like, who would have fucking thought, you know what I mean? And it's kind of interesting because Oracle doesn't have... How do I say? They don't... For the after-school program that I used to work for, they were a sponsor. And I always thought to myself, like, what do you make money on? Like, what do you even do? Like, there's nothing you sell. Like, what the So, very interesting. Either way. Meet the 40 new billionaires. Let me get that voice right. Meet the new 40 billionaires who got rich fighting COVID-19. These men are true heroes. That's probably not probably should never do that again. But yay. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, let's get rich off the backs of people. But, you know, that's what capitalism is. Or that's what the free market is. Well, it's not really a free market when everything was kind of essentially funneled through one particular way of doing things. So is it really a free market when you have to talk to the same individuals and scratch the same backs and scratch the same political wing? I mean, sorry. You know, I'm just getting lost in that sauce. That trippy sauce. Trippy sauce. Global billionaire sees 5.5 trillion pandemic wealth surge. Institute for Policy Studies. Why did I even click this? What is this? Yo, Polly, pull it up on the screen. Look at that face. Jeez. That's a face a mother could love. Only a mother can love. Oh no, the lighting. Yeah, the sun's set, so the lighting's off, and now my green screen looks like boo-boo. Let's see, less than 1% in low-income countries have received the vaccine, while profits by big pharma have seen. Yeah, basically, and it's kind of funny because I think when I think about it, I remember hearing, I think it was India. There was a nation that protested the mandates because they were like, yo, this is just another way for you to like bend our arm. And the way that they were bending the arm of this nation was using their natural resources against them. Like certain aspects of their government shut down because money wasn't moving. And it was just like, what do we do? And I need to remember. Sometimes these things need to be remembered very well. Here we have Twitter's former cybersecurity chief alleges companies reckless and negligent and warns of grave threats to national security and democracy. Democracia. Tenemos que estar conscientes de la democracia de nuestros estados. Tenemos que saber que la libertad. Yeah, I should not probably speak Spanish because, you know, English audience and all this whatnot. Fixing the camera issue. Either way. Twitter cybersecurity alleges Spike.
Work. That expertise might be why Jack Dorsey, then CEO of Twitter, hired Zacko after the company was hit by a massive attack in 2020 when hackers took over the accounts of some of the world's most famous PMs for specific allegations of main critical controls.
There's an analogy of an airplane. So you get on an airplane and every passenger and the attendant crew all have access to the cockpit, to the controls. You know, that's entirely unnecessary. It might be easy, but...
Yeah, whatever. Whatever, not interested. Twitter's former cybersecurity chief alleges whatever. And it's not just this company. The fact that... Alright, so I was looking... Actually, I'll just talk about it right now. Because it makes more sense for me to talk about this video clip right here, right now.
The Department of Justice.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Flowed through that secret workspace to the National Security Division?
I'm not familiar with the premise of your question. In other words, I'm not familiar with the facts that you've asserted in your question.
So you're not aware of the workspace that the Department of Justice maintains at the Perkins Law Firm?
Correct.
And you can't tell me whether or not the National Security Division has ever received information that has flown through the law firm that is functionally the legal wing of the Democratic Party?
He's basically saying, so you're telling me that you work here, you do this, but yet you do not do your job? So you're telling me that this is your job title, this is what you're supposed to do, but you're telling me you know nothing about this. Like, you don't actually do your job. Wordplay is funny.
Correct.
And I just keep going back to the plausible deniability from the Biden family. And speaking of the Biden family, since our last conversation, Mr. Olson, a remarkable piece came out in Fox News entitled "Joe Biden Met with at Least 4."
No. This is not the one I wanted. Okay. This is not even the clip I wanted. Boo. This is poppycock. I was set up. Alright, so the video clip that I wanted to talk about was Matt Gaetz, which is why I got confused. I think it's the same hearing because it's that same faggot answering the question. I probably shouldn't use that word. I should be more considerate of people. Shut up. But either way, Matt Gaetz. All right, wait. I was actually talking about cybersecurity. Yeah. Whatever. Matt Gaetz brings up the question to the dude sitting there, and he's asking him. What did he ask? did anything in relation to the purchase of, right, there was a purchase that was being made by the Department of Defense that wanted to be facilitated through their law firm that essentially would have bought the software called Pegasus. And if you aren't aware, Pegasus, NSO, if you type in the word Pegasus, NSO, you'll get a bunch of hits on the internet. NSO was basically a private company you could hire in order to literally spy on people. If you were a Saudi Arabian prince and you wanted to see what your thoughtbot was doing, you could literally pay this firm, hey, give me a carbon copy of her phone. And they would give you a legit carbon copy of that person's phone. Live updates and everything too. You could actually see live the text messages being received from the other side. You can see everything that's being done. I think it was even to a degree of certain keystrokes could be logged depending on the app the individual was using. Crazy levels of surveillance. But Matt Gaetz brings it up to the dude in the chair. Do you know anything about this purchase? Do you know or think that this would have been at the detriment of American privacy, blah, 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 all that lip service bullshit. But you get my point. It's like, oh, we need to care about cybersecurity at Twitter. No, my boy. The problem is far larger and far more exacerbated. Because, we had a presidency, Obama, where he spied not only on journalists, he spied on rappers, he spied on anybody that had the influence or the capacity to go up against him and the regime that was about to install itself. They literally spied on them to make sure that they wouldn't do anything, at all. It's like veiled threats all over this. Somebody went wild with that power. But here we go. Marijuana. The marijuana use is on the rise amongst young Americans. It's not even just that, dude. I was actually talking to my buddy's little brother, right? He was here. And I asked him, is the pen the only thing you use, right? One of those G pens, or I still call them a G pen. I don't even know if that company still exists, right? That was the original company that sold a vaporizer pen where you could put concentrates in it and then some vape it that way. Now they just sell you a vape, and they sell you little prepackaged cartridges. It's that streamlined, insane. And they were talking to me, and they were like, "Why don't you want to hit the pen?" And I'm like, "Dude, that's concentrates. That's way too heavy, right?" I'm in the middle between the OGs who want to smoke that you call it. It would come in bricks, you would break it off in chunks, and you would roll blunts with it, and sometimes it would still have seeds, and it would pop when you smoke the blunt. Either way. I'm like, bruh, young people are on some whole new shit. Then again, I smoke the heaviest indicas, lol. Either way. UKPM Johnson. Oh no. I lost my screen. It went black. Oh no. I've lost the internet. No, I haven't. UKPM Johnson says it's absolutely vital for British taxpayers to support freedom in Ukraine. We need to support money laundering. We need to support the defense budget programs. If you know, you know. If you don't, I'm so sorry. French President Macron claims the end of abundance cites sacrifice to defend freedom. Now, by the end of abundance, what I really think he's talking about is the end of abundance for them to fuck over the rest of the world. Because if you know anything about France and you know anything about their history with Syria, these people are cutthroat. Cutthroat. But, everybody likes to look at France and be, oh no, they didn't do anything bad. They didn't. They're cowards. They would lose fights and this and that. It's just The real French are some cutthroat mother. They have the Foreign Legion of, what is that called? Either way, we should move on. You should never name those people. They're mercenaries for hire. For Florida Governor DeSantis on Dr. Fauci. I'm sick of seeing him. Whatever. Whatevers. Car fumes from exhaust and having oh my. Here we go. Let's suspend our disbelief a bit more. Car fumes from exhaust and heavy braking raise the risk of heart attacks. Slow it down, Ma. Slow it down. Really? Braking? People just doing something that has only ever, right? If the usage of brakes has gone up, it's happened since the first car ever got developed. Shouldn't there be a line that kind of goes up, and it but why does it correlate with the use of terrible fats in food? Right? Why does heart attacks follow that line far closer instead of the usage of carbs? Science, please help. please help. My reality is shattering. Japan aims major shift back to nuclear to avoid new power woes. All right, yeah. I don't know what people believe about fusion reactors, nuclear reactors, but I largely think that science has been manipulated. I largely think it's been demonized because of how clean it is. If you do it right, if you do it completely wrong, you end up getting Chernobyl. But there's a lot of evidence to suggest that there are certain intelligence agencies and certain people backstabbing one another, spy versus spy sort of things. Either way, because at the end of the day, like, clean energy only really hurts one side of the story. It only hurts, at least, right, in the new battery regime, in this new electronic regime that we're going to see rise. Like, the rare minerals that come from Africa are detrimental to this. And you can already clearly see that there is a nation making moves towards that other nation. And people are just, oh, nothing's happening. We lived in a civilized society. No evil exists. No nation would ever do any atrocities to try to take over a piece of land. My boo. So, right, in an age where we need to move, where the resource of rare minerals is important or detrimental to electronics, I think this whole nuclear fusion, whatever reactors that we could use for electricity is a net positive. Because just look at European countries that have used nuclear for their entire existence. But yet, for whatever reason, it's a problem when America uses it. When any other country that, right? Because you're cutting into somebody's pie. You're cutting into somebody's money, right? When the electric company here already expects a certain amount of money from their users, and right, if they get put in a position where they have to charge less for their energy, I don't think they would be happy. I really don't think they would be happy. You know what I mean? That's why they don't want sustainable energies. Like, realistically, I always look at it that way, that these people don't actually want sustainable things. They don't want to improve the lives of your average Joe. They want to squeeze the money out of these people. Either way. Stephen Hoffberg, who've worked for Jeffrey Epstein, and was behind one of the largest Ponzi schemes ever. Oh yeah. I was watching a video about this, where Jeffrey Epstein got his fame to fortune basically through selling debt. Right, he was a part of that initial Ponzi scheme where they would buy debt, then they would sell that debt to other people, lying to them about the rates of something. But by the time that place got caught for doing that sort of fraud, Epstein was already gone. He already made his money and left, kind of like he had premonition of it. But you know, the Constitution is broken and should not be reclaimed. Okay, I don't. Either way. Our system was built off of like an Indian reserve. I think they were called the Iroquois. So, I don't know. Oh, here we got Mark Zuckerberg tells Joe Rogan, FBI warned Facebook of Russian propaganda before the Hunter Biden laptop story. You know, like, my buddy's brother brought his cousin, and I told him, like, you know, like, because he was explaining me I was explaining to them about conspiracy theories, obviously, but I brought up to him, like, Hunter Biden is nothing. Like, he really is nothing. He's just some crackhead. Realistically, the things he's done is what's egregious. His family and their history is a bit egregious, but when you look and compare it to the other people that are involved in this bigger scheme, like people like what's his name, John Kerry, people like Susan Rice, Andrew Weissman. When you look at all the other actors that are playing along this grand charade, that shit's dark. Like, you start looking at a very different aspect of human life that involves like these psychopaths who really don't view us as like human, and they use us as expendable lives. It's it's not nice. It's not very nice. It's not very nice. And to have Mark Zuckerberg be like, yeah, the FBI told us that this was Russian propaganda and we shouldn't trust this. I'm like, yeah, right. I want to see what new excuses you use when even realer shit comes out. And it's perfect. Like, you're watching a very small war between two sides, but only one side's used, right? The Hunter Biden stuff, he's just a crackhead. Like, there's so little in comparison to what you can find on Hillary Clinton, to what you can find on Haiti, to what you can find on the money that disappeared that was supposed to go to, what was it, Hurricane Harvey? Like, there's so much more that you could look at the other side, right, and be like, oh, really now? Big Trump guy's bad, big orange man bad. And I'm like, well, let's put up a mirror to what the fuck Democrats have done, to all of the money that's been stolen from the other side, to who called who super predators, to who passed what legislation that allowed for more minorities to go into prison. Russian propaganda. Yeah, right. Okay, biotech to copy human embryos to heal people. And this I already think has been done. And the reason why I could say stuff like that is because sometimes I do wonder, when I look at the upper echelon of people who have lived for over 90 years, I do wonder, it must have occurred to them that they could pay and fund and research this entire side of human biology. And if anybody had the money and power to do so, it would be them. And even if they don't have the science to figure out how to like genetically clone an organ to the T, well, they do have a steady supply coming from Korea. They have a steady supply coming from the Uyghurs in China. They have a steady supply coming from every single human trafficking organization that probably exists. And I'm not talking about Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not talking about Maxwell. I'm not talking about Tara Moore. I'm not talking about the child soldiers of Africa. I'm not talking about the weird shit that goes on in Mexico DF. I'm not talking about the other weird, egregious shit that happens in order for immigrants below Mexico to get into Mexico, and then right on top of those, so much. Like, do they really need to fund the research in order to get in order for them to clone themselves and to clone organs, or is it easier to use some of these supply chains that already exist in order for them to find a donor that matches them? I don't know. In some cases, we could already assume that they've already done it. They already have full-on blown little kids that have their full genetic DNA sequence, and they're just, right, if anything goes wrong with the original, sorry, little man, you're next. That's very, I should not say these sorts of things. This is very mean. Either way. Missouri School District brings back the paddling after parents wanted alternative to suspension. I guess I'm moving to Missouri. Shit. I don't want my little kids to be shit. Either way. Talking about conspiracies that turned out to be real.
What's the biggest real conspiracy ever uncovered? Charlemagne's father, Pepin the Short, invaded Italy in the 8th century. And what happened next involves the most significant and long-lasting fraud in history. You see,
very significant. Very, very significant, my boy.
Pepin invaded Italy in order to save the Pope from the Lombards. But even though they were allies, the Pope was afraid that Pepin would eventually desire all of Italy for himself. This was a problem because the popes have been acting as the de facto rulers of central Italy ever since the fall of the Roman Empire. But now,
the Pope has been acting as the lead since the fall of the Roman Empire. Very interesting. Very interesting. I'll take Byzantine Empire. Either way.
Italy ever since the fall of the Roman Empire. But now if the church wasn't careful, they could lose their independence and end up once more subordinate to a secular power. Fearing this, the church presented Pepin with a document known as the Donation of Constantine. They claimed that 400 years earlier, the first Christian Roman emperor, Constantine the Great, had written this document.
Constantine the Great, the same individual who created the Council of Nicaea, the same individual who corralled and rallied every single Christian bishop, pope, priest from around the world, locked them together in one location and told them that you're going to make one version of the Bible. You're going to make one definitive version of how to interpret all of this spiritual text. One definitive version of it. And the people who disagreed, well, it was easier to dispose of them, especially when you already have them in a closed location. The Council of Nicaea was one of the largest mistakes to ever happen in Christianity. No offense. Some people are not going to like that. A lot of people are not going to like that. But Let's listen more as to why.
Granting dominion of the city of Rome and its surrounding territories to the Pope and his successors. Pepin chose to honor this agreement, and this became the legal basis for the creation of the Papal States, whose existence would shape the face of Europe for the next 1,000 years. This document was believed to be authentic for the entirety of the Middle Ages, but new evidence came to light in the 15th century, and now even the Catholic Church accepts that the donation of Constantine was the most significant.
And what happened in the 15th century? Oh, literacy rates were starting to go up. Right? People were starting to read. People were starting to get educated during the medieval times, right? The Renaissance man came about. And when that came about, people started doing their research and they started figuring out, oh, well, if you could lie about this document to this king, what's to say they didn't lie about any of the other times that they decided to rewrite the Bible? Because for a very long time, only very few could actually read the thing. And keep in mind, those men have all come to pass. Think about how priesthood works. Think about how it just cycles people in and out. And the only real people that would know any real meaningful in any of this as meaningful information, that the Bible has been written this many times, that it was rewritten because this empire said this or that empire said that, or this pope decided that, right? So for the Cathars, right? The Cathars, very, very controversial, right? Because they had this whole thing of not wanting to worship the flesh, not wanting to worship the physical, right? That they said that Jesus was lesser than the Father. That, right, God is still the Father and he is still the Son, right? That's the logic they used. And because they said that, largely I tend to believe that it was the fact that they didn't want to give them any donations. All of their churches ran on bare minimums. Like the Cathars believe this whole other thing of money, donations, that the church shouldn't be a for-profit thing, but there were a variety of other instances that basically put the Cathars in a disadvantage towards the Catholics, and they didn't like that. So they started, They started one crusade, and then they started two other crusades that both lasted around 10 years each, but they didn't call them crusades because it would have been too on the nose that they were going after and genociding a bunch of people, you know what I mean? Very egregious stuff. But it's okay, because, you know, the Catholics, they're based in red pilled, right? I hate playing games. I really do. I troll in a very, very mean way. I'm very sorry for this. But,
You want me to repeat? No. Why don't we do this? Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear Kanye's answer.
We're not going to Jimmy Kimmel the situation.
No, we're going to come right back.
No, we're not going to come right back.
Okay.
We're not going to Jimmy Kimmel the situation.
Fair enough.
We're going to give me time to think.
Okay. Fair enough.
You asked me a serious question, and I'm going to take some time to think about my answer.
Most people don't do this. Most people are like, oh yeah, okay, cool, yeah, we can cut to a... No. I'm gonna think. You're not gonna cut away and make it look like I don't know what I'm fucking doing. If you don't like that, it has nothing to do with me.
So this comes back to the tactics of the prince. So this is Prince Tip 101 with Ramirez, where the control of optics, the control of how you're being interpreted, the control of perception, right? And that's why he says you're not going to Jimmy Kimmel the situation. Because now, it's not normal for people to take time to actually think out what they want to say. And it's why sometimes I have pauses in my videos, because I'm actually thinking, what should I say? How should I say this? How do I bring this information up? In what way do I deliver this? Not many people now do that nowadays. And when you have editing and when you have these aspects of video form editing, they can make you look a certain way, especially when they decide to cut it, especially when they decide to cut back in. The starting frame and the ending frame matter. What facial expressions you make matter. So in a weird way, they can control your entire image purely based on them cutting or editing in the beginning of a statement.
It's called respect. And so this guy has no real respect for Kanye. Kanye understands this, and he handles it appropriately. Just because the approach seems gentle or seems kind or seems like, okay, well, we're going to just take a break. And it might look like he's crazy in doing this, because most people would submit.
And I think it's important about the aspect of respect and understanding the importance of it. But I think what it comes down more to is the fact that there is a clear agenda, right? Think about the time period that TMZ clip happened. It is important to understand that there were optics that were trying to be established. There was a control of a way that they wanted to create an image and portray that towards Kanye. So it is important to understand these things. Either way, Zionist. I clicked on accident. That was from Ghost Erzra, the Telegram group, either way. A Marines stationed at Kabul airport says at the Abbey Gate last year. Okay, so this is a really interesting story that I'd actually just rather click here, turn on the zoom, turn it here. Marine wounded in Kabul, suicide attack claims CIA warned them about the bomber, watched him for 2 days, and were told not to get him. In a horrifying account of the blast that killed 13 U.S. service members and hundreds of Afghan. 13, very special woo number if you know what that is. But the CIA warned them. This is literally the equivalent to the BS, the bullshit that the FBI does, where they'll keep track and keep tabs on all of these people, but then will do nothing. And they'll allow them to do all this egregious shit anyways. All for what? Political statements, political theater, for the news, for this, for headlines, for the effect of chaos, for the effect of loot stealing from all of the minds of people. Like, it gets me so mad because right, I even wrote down here later story about Joe Rogan episode where ex-Mexican cop or a Marine about they were all doped up. All right, so there's this episode of Joe Rogan where he invites this ex-Mexican cop who worked as one of the head police chiefs during the political regime of Felipe Calderon. I remember this because I lived in Mexico during the time of his presidency, especially when he got into power. I was in middle school at the time. And he brings up a story about how when he joined the Marines, right, at some point in time, he decides to join the U.S. Army, joins the Marines, or joins the Army. Either way, he's in service. But while he's in service, they're going from one station to another station, and that the person who was driving his bus, like, they stopped and did like a stop to eat, but they weren't supposed to eat. Like, there was not in the schedule. And when they ate all that food, they knocked out. And that he remembered that when he was on the bus, that he woke up at some point to figure out that the bus was driving off a different course, figured out that they were being driven off somewhere completely different. And when he saw the driver get off, he woke up all of his members and woke up everybody in the bus and were like, what are we doing here? Only for him to find out that they were getting pincered in, and so basically they were getting set up. But my whole thing was, who poisoned their food? Who knew where they were traveling to? Who knew where their pit stops were? How did this happen? Like, so there are aspects of, and this Marine or this person on the Joe Rogan episode brought up how, like, there were clear things that were happening during the early 2000s in the Middle East that a lot of people aren't aware of, right? When we have Marines talking about defending poppy fields for big pharmaceutical companies, when we have Marines talking about this story where they were driven off a beaten path in order to get off, it's like something's going on here. There is internal forces that are clearly deciding the fates of people, and that's not okay. Either way, it gets me mad. This was supposed to be the Gates video where I was describing NSO Pegasus, but this wasn't the video I was looking for. But comes with the territory of just, viewing the Matrix. It's like, man, all I see now are just numbers. Oh, wait. I don't even know if this is playing. Probably fuck that. Probably said some naughty words. Nah, we good. Either way, my name is Ramirez. This was your Newsly episode of something. And, stay woke. Be aware of what's going on in your surroundings. Because, I don't know. Just be conscious. Be awake. Be aware. Always know that there is something that is not working in your favor. Understand that aspects of the government and the world are going after you, and if not you, your children. And it's a very scary thing, but honestly, I feel like it's all getting better. I feel like a lot more people are waking up nowadays, that they're becoming more aware of everything that's going on in the world, and makes me happy. The fact that like my buddy's little brother was just like, hey, I got some questions I want to ask you. He's asking me about like rappers, body doubles, all sorts of crazy things, and it's just like, I don't know, seeing people take a simple interest in asking questions and pointing out government malfeasance, that makes my heart just a bit happier. You know what I mean? Like, makes me happy to know that youngsters actually care about understanding government malfeasance, right? Like, everything else doesn't matter. What really matters is pointing out government malfeasance, because if we could fix the government, usually I'm pretty sure we can fix all of the other shit that basically allowed for these cracks to develop in our system that just kept breeding worse conditions for everybody else. But that's me. That's your boy Ramirez. You know, it is what it is. For whatever reason, I wanted to say I love you all. You're my familia now. I don't know why I wanted to say that. But Ramirez, your boy, FrogBear.zil. Loyal to the tinfoil, my boy. That's what it is. And that's what